Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome in. This is the Slate DraftKings program. We take you up until 6 o'clock on this Monday, March 13th. As of noon Eastern today, the legal tampering period in the National Football League began. So there are plenty of moves to discuss, or at least moves that will be made official very soon. So that is what will consume most of this program. You get two of us today, Brendan Glasheen and Jeff Ulrich, your usual Monday crew.
Yeah.
Thanks for stopping by. You too.
Little busier than a regular Monday, not going to lie. I mean, which is nice. I mean, I don't mind it. I like news. Feels like we could have like 4 people on this show, though, with a bunch of stuff's going on.
Yeah, but more words for us. Words are everything, Jeff. But I'm happy to have you, happy to be with you to discuss some moves, of course, bigger than others.
Yep.
We were curious on Friday when we did the Friday show for the slate, and we got
a big one just went down.
Just now?
Sam Darnold. Guess the team, Glash. Guess it.
Tampa.
San Francisco.
Oh!
Isn't that interesting? Oh, yeah, that won't cause a controversy. San Francisco basically just replaced Jimmy Garoppolo with Jimmy Garoppolo. Like,
cheaper, I would imagine. You have the
less handsome Jimmy Garoppolo with a terrible win-loss record, but still a similar sort of type of tier quarterback, if you get my drift.
Adam Schefter, 1-year deal per source. Sam Darnold, 1-year deal. Former Panthers quarterback Sam Darnold.
Look, let's start here because the one thing I love, Glash, when I'm looking at NFL futures, quarterback depth.
You do.
This is a smart move. Everyone's going to say, oh, my God, they're not committing to Trey Lance. The San Francisco 49ers don't care about your fantasy team. This is a smart move. Brock Purdy's not going to be ready. Trey Lance is coming off an injury-prone season. If he stinks, they have a backup plan. They don't have to wait for Purdy to get healthy. It's a 1-year deal. I'm surprised Darnold took it, to be honest. But look, that's what this is. It's a good move by the 49ers. Regardless of what you think of Sam Darnold, QB depth, man, is so important. Yeah, it's a solid move by an organization that kind of understands it. It's not life-changing. It's not going to be like Sam Darnold's going to come in and light it up, I don't think, in preseason. But
why are you surprised that Darnold chose the Niners? I think it's a great idea.
I just think that there was other. I think Tampa, I just think that there's other opportunities where he may actually get a chance to start
from a playing time perspective. Yes, but as far as situation, I mean,
sure,
if he gets in,
yeah. I mean, look, there's a path for Sam Darnold in San Francisco. Trey Lance maybe gets in.
It's not the one the Niners probably want deep down.
No, absolutely not. Sam Darnold is like plan C, but now they have a plan C, and their plan C is better. This is the big thing. Their plan C with Sam Darnold is better than pretty much any other team's plan C, I would say. So, there's a path for Darnold. Purdy, I could see Purdy not being ready for the entire year. I really could. And I think this move speaks more to Brock Purdy's situation than Trey Lance. I really do. I think people are going to read into this a lot, but it really, to me, is more of a Brock Purdy move. It's a major injury he suffered, and he suffered it at the worst time because of how short the recovery is. So, yeah, it's a good move by San Francisco. It really is.
You can't feel, maybe you do, assuming they keep most of the core and you'll have McCaffrey for a full season, what they do to retain players up front, both sides of the ball. It's not as, I guess, you just kind of said it off the top. You think Sam Darnold is not too far behind what Jimmy Garoppolo provided.
I mean, look, Jimmy Garoppolo from the statistical standpoint was extremely good on San Francisco. So I shouldn't, I don't really want to say they're equal. And that, I think that's wrong. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is actually a little bit better than people think. And I would certainly put him in a tier above Sam Darnold. But Sam Darnold also brings things that Garoppolo doesn't. He's younger. He's more mobile. He's shown it in the past. He's potentially just a better kind of, outside passer. He doesn't have the greatest arm either. So I think in some ways their limitations are similar, but I think that he's good enough to run the San Francisco offense. I don't know if he could do it at the same efficiency that Garoppolo did, but he does bring a couple other things to the table. And I think at this point in his career, you may see him kind of thrive in like some kind of easy quarterback system like Kyle Shanahan. So there's some similarities. I would still, like I said, like if we're comparing him to Garoppolo, I think it's a downgrade. But again, they're not signing him to start. They're signing him as an insurance plan in case something happens to Trey Lance. And, really, because Brock Purdy is probably not going to be ready until midseason, if I had to guess.
So the very latest,
I think it's going to trend. So
the very latest in the NFL legal tampering period, where we do get reports on deals that will be given eventually, and the terms get laid out. Sam Darnold, 1-year deal to the San Francisco 49ers. Their current depth is Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, and Brock Purdy. And we found out about Purdy 3 days ago, underwent successful surgery on his elbow. And I think Jeff's on the money here. This clearly means San Fran's not all that confident that he'll be ready to go, because it says the reporting is he can begin throwing in 3 months and expected recovery is 6 months, which brings you into the league year. So they've got to have some sort of insurance. I also think that buries the Tom Brady rumors of coming out of retirement. I'll go there quickly. That's done for sure. Like, it's Tua and Mike White in Miami. That was the rumored spot for Brady if he decided he doesn't want to go do TV and, take care of his new kitty. And the other one is San Francisco. It's over. It's over. It's done. And Jimmy Garoppolo to the Raiders. That was the other rumored Brady possibility. So I think it's done. I think Tom's done. Maybe. Okay. What other? We'll just stick with quarterbacks. Garoppolo to the Raiders. What do you think?
Yeah. Like from a term standpoint, I mean, $24 million per year.
It's a good deal for the Raiders.
3-year deal. I'm not sure what the guarantee is on it. Do you know off the top of your head? I didn't look up that one actually. I don't know if it's out.
It is out. Schefter had it earlier. I'll find it. Go ahead.
Yeah, it looks like base salary 11 point. I'm not sure how much exact guaranteed money, but there's definitely some guaranteed money.
Here, give me 2 seconds. Jimmy Garoppolo guaranteed money, $34 million. Yeah. $34 million.
So
half of the contract is guaranteed.
I mean, that's pretty much, look, I think it's just the going rate. I think they basically paid the going rate. I don't think it's terrible. I mean, to me, the Raiders, like, this was probably their best option this year. I mean, like, they can still go after a quarterback in the draft. Like, I see reports like, oh, like they gave him the guaranteed money, but 3 years isn't that long. Again, like, quarterback depth is important. So I really don't hate what they've done investing in it. I think at the very least, if you do go and get, like, say a Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, like San Francisco did the same thing. And look how vital Jimmy Garoppolo was to the success of that team. So my thing with the Raiders is, like, I don't know if it was necessarily. Like, are they, you want to be competitive, but the Raiders are at such a point where, like, I just don't really think they have a chance, to be honest. I think that the Raiders' best path this offseason would have just been to absolutely nuke everything. Get rid of Devontae Adams, get rid of everyone. But they're not going to do that.
They're not interested in that. The Davis family.
No, they're just not going to do that.
Brought in Josh McDaniels to win now.
Yeah.
The moves they made for Chandler Jones, Adams, as you mentioned, they've made win now moves.
Yeah. So it's like, it's irrelevant what I think, right? I mean, I think that's what I would have done. I would have gotten rid of everything. I would have nuked it. I probably would have gotten rid of McDaniels too, but I'm not the owner / GM. They're obviously trying to put together a competitive team or some kind of semblance of a competitive team. Garoppolo, even as just a bridge quarterback, isn't a bad option. Again, if they were truly in a rebuild, I don't think he'd even needed to spend that amount of money. He could have just brought in like Andy Dalton for a year or something and really gone for the tank, but they're not going to do that. I think Garoppolo is far more competitive. That's nice. If by some chance I'm wrong, they field a competitive team. Not only do they have Garoppolo, but they can still go after the young quarterback. And, Anthony Richardson, they get him or something. He comes in, starts winning games, starts, just running all around the field. They got Garoppolo as a backup. That's not a bad thing, man. It's not a bad situation to invest in Garoppolo. Maybe they trade him a couple of years and someone takes the last term of the money too. So I think it's fine. I really do. I still have again, I'm not putting Garoppolo in like where he shouldn't be, but I think that he's still a very solid quarterback. And his win-loss record aside too, like it's proven it, but even just some of his statistics on the field, what he adds, I actually think it's a solid signing.
I do too. I actually think that the Raiders made out well on the deal. Like,
I think it's the market rate. I mean, I don't think it's overpayment at all. Look
it's a little below market rate.
I actually, yeah, I agree. Like I wouldn't have been shocked if someone had given Garoppolo like close to 30 or at 30, just with what Daniel Jones just got and with some of the other contracts. So, it's completely fair. It's a ton of money, and I'm sure there's a bunch of people on Twitter typing like, "Oh my God, you gave Jimmy Garoppolo $24 million a year," but like that's what it is. I mean, like Jarrett Stidham just got, what did he get? Like $9 million a year to be a backup. Like, I mean, that's the kind of money that gets thrown around to NFL quarterbacks. So, if you're going to try and field a competitive team, it makes sense, and I think it does make sense from a future standpoint. You've got a legitimate, whether you want to call him the bridge quarterback, a legitimate depth quarterback for 3 years in place, at least with Jimmy Garoppolo. If you want to get rid of him the third year, you probably can too. So I like it all around. I really do. It's rare that I say that with the Raiders move, but
I guess I'm curious, can Jimmy Garoppolo, he has experience with Josh McDaniels from their time in New England, but what I wonder is, without a really solid, stout defense, what does Jimmy Garoppolo look like?
Well, it's not just the defense. It's the O-line too, right? Like, Derek Carr regressed last year. A big part of that was the O-line.
Mm-hmm.
How long is Jimmy Garoppolo going to last? There's legit questions. This is what I'm saying. Like, from a competitive standpoint, I just don't think the Raiders are there. So as much as I like Garoppolo, the player, they got to do some, some adding, I think, to really maximize the investment. But, it's a solid investment, I think. Quarterback position, as I've said, I mean, it's important to keep investing. So, we'll see what else the Raiders do.
Right.
Maybe they surprise me in year 2 of Josh McDaniels, but I'm
right.
Not
so they can do that, because as opposed to giving what Carr got with the Saints, this is a discount, and they can fill the roster around Garoppolo. You're in a better spot to do that with Jimmy Garoppolo than you would have been with Brady, Rodgers, what Carr just got. So you can still field a competitive team. They want to put people in that stadium. They've invested a lot of money at other key positions. Some positions I think that they haven't invested in we've come to find out, line play, O-line, D-line, secondary. Their more expensive players are at linebacker and running back. So, and receivers important. Adams is great. So yes, I think this deal keeps them competitive, and it actually a discounted rate for a starting quarterback. The Raiders, in a way, have more flexibility going Garoppolo over Carr. I would agree. But now I'm curious, Jimmy Garoppolo can't be Mr. Game Manager now. This is a team where, because of their now pending anything else they might do, the way their roster is currently constructed, you're asking the quarterback to bring you from behind. And that's what Derek Carr got credit for when he did bring them from behind. But the biggest knock on Carr was they didn't win a lot of games. So we'll find out. Derek Carr now with a team in New Orleans that has some older pieces on defense and on the lines. We'll find out if the Raiders put something around him and if Garoppolo can indeed overcome those deficiencies on their roster. So that's the big quarterback news. And also, you mentioned Anthony Richardson. He has actually risen to second in the market as it pertains to the draft 2023 NFL draft odds. He's now second behind CJ Stroud. Bryce Young has dropped to third at plus 330. So that gets me thinking that Anthony Richardson hype is becoming relevant, and we have a long way to go. We have a month and a half till the draft, but he's rising and Bryce Young is dropping.
It feels like it's just around the corner, but it's still like a long ways away. It is interesting. Like, I don't think that the Anthony Richardson move in the odds is necessarily saying like, oh, teams prefer him over Bryce Young, but it's to say that the Panthers are considering Stroud and Richardson heaviest and that Bryce Young probably isn't on the table. I still think that the Texans at 2 are going to take Bryce Young unless there's some kind of trade or something like that, and some team really wants Anthony Richardson that bad, and they trade back with the Texans,
Mhm.
which could still happen. The Texans have a lot of holes. Maybe the Texans pull off some kind of Bears deal as well. So that could happen as well. I think that's what's getting Richardson's odds. It's not necessarily saying that all the teams have him rated above Bryce Young, but that maybe there's a couple select teams that are thinking about it. So it is interesting to see, though. Bryce Young was kind of was obviously the consensus number one for a bit, and the Panthers have thrown it on its head by getting the number one pick, and they're clearly in the CJ Stroud department. I still think Stroud goes number one. You're going to see a lot of smoke, a lot of just, conjecture, opinions go out over the next month or so. CJ Stroud had the best combine. He was already a legitimate pocket passer. He's big. You don't have height concerns. There's probably more mobility in there for the pro game than I think people realize, and I think teams know that too.
Mm-hmm.
I think CJ Stroud probably goes number one. I think Bryce Young probably goes number two, but I do think that there's more, intrigue there, because I think the next thing in the draft to see who is going to go get Richardson or maybe even Will Levis. What is the next trade that's going to happen? I just think there's too many QB needy teams. The Raiders are still QB needy. The Colts, other teams in there could jump up. The Bucks. Who's going to go get these guys? Someone's going to. So
Yep.
I think you may see at least one more trade like that.
Indy, Atlanta, and that you're being consistent if you're going to put Vegas in that conversation, because how could the Raiders be fully confident that Jimmy and they of course they just lost Jarrett Stidham to Denver, so their current quarterback situation is Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's it. So I would imagine they're going to want to have a guy, and a 3-year deal also points to that, like you said, a bridge guy. They're going to want to have the next guy behind him. And I think Jimmy Garoppolo, whether he likes it or not, I know he was smirking on the sideline in that NFC title game when his team was getting beaten badly by the Eagles. Well, sorry, Jimmy, but I think for the rest of your career, there was going to be someone behind you breathing down your neck, possibly ready to take your job, because your injury history is not on your side.
Well, injury history, and I mean, like, teams are always going to be going after the good young rookie quarterback on a cheap deal, trying to carry their team. So whoever takes Levis or Richardson needs to have some kind of backup plan anyways. I mean, these guys are more obviously raw athletes. I think there's more question marks around both for good reason.
Yep.
Richardson as a pocket passer leaves a lot to be desired. Will Levis just does not have like an extensive track record either. I think both are complete boom bust prospects who could develop into really high-end quarterbacks and could also be, semi-disastrous as well. So I don't think that they necessarily both will be, but we'll see.
Okay, what do we make of the other moves around the league? So we wanted to spend a minute on the rookie quarterback market for the draft, because that all relates to the quarterback dominoes. And for the record, if you tuned into Friday's show, us two and LaMarca, CJ Stroud was minus 115 to go number one. That's risen to minus 260. So I think we were kind of on it the minute that trade went down between the Bears and the Panthers. And it relates because we found out what the Panthers want to do. That took the Panthers out of the Garoppolo sweepstakes. Las Vegas goes after Garoppolo, and that creates a little more. And Sam Darnold now going to the Niners creates some clarity for other quarterback needy teams. But there's still a lot to unfold. And I think most of that now will come via the draft. What about some of the other moves that went down today? We have Jalen Ramsey from over the weekend.
Yeah.
We've got Jesse Bates to Atlanta. That was a target, I feel like, for a lot of teams. Atlanta deciding, and we know Atlanta reportedly out on Lamar Jackson and his services. They spend on Bates. Chiefs added O-line. They're at it again, adding more pieces to their line. What else jumped out to you? What's a big?
Yeah, I mean, the Bears unsurprisingly made a couple of big moves. I am surprised that they invested, like, doubled down at the linebacker position.
Yeah.
I really thought they'd go out and get a cornerback on day one as well. But, like, let's not forget about the Bears. Like, they do have a lot of draft picks. So, maybe they're probably eyeing some people there. And, one of the signings that they did make, Edmonds, is like he rated out as one of the best cover linebackers in the league last year. So that was a big area of concern for them. I mean, they have so many areas of concern on that side of the ball, but that was a big one. So the Bears got off to a pretty good start. I mean, it's a big contract. Like that contract worries me with Edmonds, but Tremaine Edmonds. But it's an area of need, and they have cap space. So I certainly like the other linebacker that they brought in as well. We'll just have to wait and see with the Bears. I mean, this is going to be a progress. They have so much room. They have so many draft picks. Once they put everything together, we'll let the chips fall where they may. But their GM. I mean, I give him like a barely passing grade at this point. The Chase Claypool move was kind of a disaster, in my opinion. Like the overpayment. I mean, just pure overpayment. But the number one draft pick trade was also extremely good. So, I mean, I would give these signings like a average grade. Again, I think they kind of overpaid for Edmonds, but also shoring up a space of need. So it's an okay start. I certainly love the trade they made getting DJ Moore. They still have the room to make the necessary adjustments. Oh, they did sign Nate Davis too, which, again, they need to shore up the O-line. I still think they are in deep need of at least one more talented guy, probably a guard as well. So we'll see how that shakes out. The Bears had, a fast start, not shocking, but would have liked to maybe see them invest that linebacker money into the O-line instead. I mean, I'm more of like a fantasy guy, so I just want to see Justin Fields not get destroyed next year. So that's that. But yeah, Bears, and then again, like a lot of defensive players going off the board quick. I'll say this: the move I actually like the most is Cameron Sutton to the Lions. I actually spoke about this yesterday. No, it was this morning actually when we talked about the free agency. Yep. The Lions' biggest need is on defense. I mean, top 5 offense. What do they need? They were so bad in coverage last year. Cameron Sutton, good deal, 3-year, versatile player, coming off probably his best season of the year. He can play inside, he can play out. They have a couple of young boundary corners that could still develop. I just think it's a great move by the Lions. The Lions are a very sneaky team next year, man. I don't even know if they're going to be sneaky at some point. But I really do think the Lions can make some noise next year. They made some noise last year as well, but this is a smart move. Let's see who else they get. If they can get another depth corner, that'd be great. But they have the horses there, man. They really do. They have guys, in the D line that I think can take a step up still. The run defense was good for parts of last year. Good move. That's probably the signing I like the most, just because that was like the one thing. You look at the Lions, they needed some depth. They needed a guy who could just, float inside and out a little bit, stabilize, make some plays, and Cameron Sutton's it.
Jawan Taylor, former Jags offensive lineman. He had been connected to a lot of teams, possibly the Bears or the Patriots were in on him too. Kansas City Chiefs get him for 4 years, $80 million, $60 million guaranteed. So more protection for the quarterback.
Yeah.
You can't, that's a great move for the Chiefs. They've just, when you think they're going to lose guys to the market, they keep bolstering that O-line, which they proved it was important in the Super Bowl in their run.
Yeah, the Chiefs, the Chiefs saw Patrick Mahomes get, sacked to living heck by the Bucks and in that one year. And, they have made it clear, like they will mix and match. They will patchwork at wide receiver. They will do what they can on defense. They are not going to leave Patrick Mahomes exposed again. It's smart. It's super smart. You have the best player in the league at quarterback, just hands down. Mm-hmm. You have a top tier offensive line to protect him. The rest can take care of itself with Andy Reid. He proved it last year. If they just keep doing this year in, year out, they are going to be an insanely tough team to beat. So,
what are the Falcons trying to do? Give me any idea? They re-signed the O-lineman. They give him a mega deal. They signed Jesse Bates.
Yeah, Bates, right? Yeah,
from the Bengals. 4 years, $64 million, $23 million in year one, and 36 overall in the first 2 years of the deal. 4th highest paid safety in league history to the Atlanta Falcons, who did a defense that does need help. I mean, to be fair, like it's not like they need help in a lot of areas.
Yeah, they need a pass rush though. But this is also, I guess, an area of need. I mean,
and Chris Lindstrom, offensive guard, reportedly getting a mega extension as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, it's it's good, protection for a young quarterback. Atlanta is kind of like in a similar situation as the Bears. They just don't have as much to work with.
Right.
Where they need help in so many places. Like, sure, shore up the O-line, but they still don't really have a great base on defense. So I don't know. I mean, the Bates deal kind of feels like a little bit like the Trey Edmonds deal, where this team overpaid to shore up an area of need. It's fine, but I don't know if like Bates is going to be the guy that necessarily puts the defense over the edge. So, to becoming like a really better unit, I feel like they need some kind of disruptor down there. Maybe they'll get him at the draft too. I mean, it's certainly wide open there. But yeah, it's fine. I mean, I don't know. The Falcons are just, I mean, the Falcons, I don't know why they're not going after Lamar Jackson. That's just like, I think that a lot of people are just like, it's so ripe for them to just get Lamar, build out this elite rushing offense with Tyler Algier, Drake London is a big target, Kyle Pitts. And it's just like every move they make that's not Lamar, you're just like, why? Like, why?
Yeah.
Why are you so I don't know, man. The Falcons are just kind of no man's land for me. I mean, it's fine. Maybe Desmond Ridder ends up being really good. I actually don't mind Ridder. It's just, there's only one Lamar Jackson. So that's kind of my feelings on the Falcons. I don't really have any feelings outside of like, why aren't they going after Lamar Jackson?
Well, if they're not, maybe they are trying to move future draft capital, go from 8 to 4 to take a quarterback.
I don't think so, man. I mean, I get like it could, but I mean, maybe they're trying to go after Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson would fit in a lot of the same ways that Lamar fits. So that is a possibility.
Well, and I only bring up moving up because I could very well see days before the draft, a week before the draft, because it goes Carolina, Houston. So if it's Stroud, Young, Arizona, I think is sticking with Murray. And then there's Indy, Seattle, Detroit. Any one of those three teams could say, well, we're thinking about taking Anthony Richardson, and that might tempt the Falcons to say, oh, we got to move up if we want to get our guy.
Yeah.
Or it's Levis, right? Levis could fall to one of those teams because it wouldn't surprise me if Seattle takes a young quarterback behind Geno. I feel like Seattle, with their deal with Geno, it's the same sort of deal as Garoppolo with the Raiders. They could have a bridge guy behind him or a young quarterback behind the bridge guy.
Yeah, I feel like Seattle probably will go for more of a win now mode. I could see Seattle trading down, but Pete Carroll also just loves to take athletes on defense. So if there's some kind of supreme athlete there, he's probably going to do that. I don't know. That's the Falcons are one team also. Again, without them getting Lamar, I'm a little bit perplexed as to what their plan is. I feel like they're just going to go in on Ridder, which is fine, I guess. He has some rushing upside of his own. He's actually an underrated runner. I think he was pretty good in college. He's potentially, a decent pocket passer as well. So, but I don't know, man. Like I said, it just Lamar Jackson's right there. So you got this money you're going to spend. Why not just bring in Lamar? But I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say on Atlanta. The Bates move is fine. We'll see what else they do in the draft. I think Atlanta, to really see how the team is going to be, we got to wait till they figure out what they're going to do in the first round, like you said.
So based on what we know now from today, what else are you expecting? Is there anything now based on a move that happened today? Do you say, and we talked quarterback quite a bit to start the show, right? But is Jamal Dean going back to Tampa? That was a surprise. Yeah. 4 years, 52. Peterson to the Steelers. Again, older player, might be a nice depth piece for the Steelers. Yeah. Adding to their secondary. Anything else that hasn't happened yet that you're suspecting? I mean, Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. I keep thinking it's going to happen. Trey Wingo of ESPN said it's going to happen.
Yeah, and then Rappaport came out and said nothing's happened, which I mean,
Garrett Wilson
every minute that ticks by, Ian Rappaport looks, like the one we should be believing. So,
did you see the Garrett Wilson tweets today?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. It's probably done. Aaron Rodgers probably just has some clause, be like, let's reveal it at like 12:59 a.m. or something like this on my Instagram feed from the dark room. So
Johnson and Johnson related, possibly. I don't
know. Yeah. Who knows? Anyways, I think one thing that happened today, a couple big cornerbacks came off the market. James Bradbury's still there. James Bradbury could be in line for a big contract here because he's basically the last man standing in terms of like the big three. There's a couple other names, but Sutton and Jamal Dean were a couple big ones up top. Bradbury probably getting courted right now by a couple teams. We still haven't seen a big wide receiver go, so that'll be interesting. It's a really weak wide receiver class. I'm interested to see where Jacoby Myers goes. And yeah, you mentioned, sorry, I'm just trying to remember who you mentioned. You mentioned Jamal Dean going to the Bucks. I mean, I just don't know how they have the cap room to keep him. So watch for the Bucks, some news to come out of there. They can save money by cutting Mike Evans, I think on June 1st. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but like maybe. It could happen. Mike Evans could be on cut watch. I don't know. I just don't know how the Bucks are going to afford Jamal Dean. It was not expected for him to go back there. So could be a domino. Could be something to watch if you're in Dynasty or something. I don't know. But I just really wondering how the Buccaneers are going to afford that Jamal Dean contract.
And for those that don't know, June 1st is a big date because it impacts salary cap implications. So to Jeff's point, by cutting Evans, they could save a crap ton of money if they choose to do that. Or depending on what they do at quarterback, which I don't know what they're going to do now because they're just all the veteran guys are going off the board.
Yeah. I mean, and then the Bucks have been linked to Baker Mayfield, so that's something else to watch because Baker is like the other veteran that hasn't signed yet. So maybe they're working out term, but with him, Baker still being on the board and the Bucks not signing anyone else, kind of feels like that is probably going to happen.
As far as star players too, Austin Eckler seeking a trade that kind of got buried today.
That was interesting. Yeah, I mean the Chargers not wanting to give him term. I get not wanting to give up. He's 28 years old.
Yeah.
At the same time, man, like Austin Eckler has carried that offense the last couple of years. Carried it. I'd be a little bit shaky without having Austin Eckler on the team next year. They did switch. The Chargers switched OCs though, didn't they?
Yeah, they brought in.
They fired Joe. What's his face?
Yeah, they brought in.
Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore, correct, from the
Cowboys.
Yep.
So I mean that's good. I think Joe Lombardi. Yeah. So Lombardi used Austin Eckler a lot. I'd still, we'll see what the Chargers do. That is definitely a situation that needs to get worked out. They can't just lose Austin Eckler and not replace him. They need someone there. So
yeah, it's been too much of a sample of him. Now he was banged up one season, and his backup, I'm drawing a blank on who his backup was at the time that sort of handled it. They've used Justin Jackson, and who's the other back that filled in nicely for him?
We had Josh Kelly. I can't even remember. They had a couple of backs in the mix last year. Yeah, he just plays so much. I just can't even remember who's behind him. He's been healthy the last couple of years. Like I say, he's 28, but yeah, man. I mean, we'll see what happens there. That is interesting. Maybe Philly goes out and gets him. That'd be a pretty sick backfield with Hurts and Austin Eckler. Who knows?
Miles Sanders, possibly. Because Sanders was tagged, so they're keeping Sanders.
Did they keep that? Oh, was he tagged? Okay,
Sanders was tagged, and so was Tony Pollard, both in the same division.
I know Pollard was. Okay, I actually know Sanders was tagged. Okay, so maybe not Philly. Who knows? I mean, Philly could still go out and get him. Who knows? Isaiah Spiller is the other guy. So the Chargers do have a couple younger running backs on the roster. Those Kelly and Spiller are both players they've drafted the last couple seasons, but neither one of them profile as pass catching backs. Like they're both kind of power backs. So they basically have no Eckler replacement. Maybe they go out and get someone at the draft. That's probably like the easiest solution for them. But man, like that Eckler is.
I apologize. Sanders was not tagged. Sorry, it was.
I didn't think he was.
No, I apologize. He's still out there. He's a free agent. Yes, I apologize. It was Pollard and Josh Jacobs, not Miles Sanders.
Okay.
The tagged running back.
Jacobs. Yeah, Jacobs definitely was tagged.
And Saquon Barkley was tagged, correct?
Yeah, so Sanders is like the odd man out there.
That was right. Those were the two from the NFC East, Pollard and Barkley.
That's why Sanders, the Eagles have also been linked to like a running back in the draft. But, Eckler would be interesting there, to say the least.
All right. Well, we've only got a minute left. You got a quick play you want to give out on golf, then we'll get out of here?
Yeah, I'll give a couple quick ones. Really like Tommy Fleetwood. My PJ cheat sheet should be up on the site, dknation.draftkings.com. I like Tommy Fleetwood this week. It's going to be windy. It's going to be wild. It's going to be tough. Fleetwood's a great Open Championship player. He's got a good short game. Played pretty well over the Florida swing. Approach game is cooking. And you want a long shot bet this week? Trey Mullenix, my guy. He's at plus 9,000 on DraftKings Sportsbook. He's just an underrated player. He's played well at this event in the past. It's top 10 2 events ago. I think those are two really weak targets for me, but I'll have more on Wednesday with Fryer and Emerson.
There you go. We cover a lot of golf on Wednesdays. And of course, we'll be all over this NFL free agency circus that is now gotten underway as of today at noon. So good stuff. We'll find out if Aaron Rodgers emerges from wherever he may be and if the Jets are indeed on him. I would think they are because Mike White's gone and Zach Wilson is a backup on a cheap deal. Doesn't sound all that bad. Learning from one of the greats. Okay, folks, thanks for tuning into the show. We have the slate Monday through Friday after that 4 o'clock Madden Sim. Of course, you got the sweat, 11 a.m. every weekday, DraftKings, YouTube, Twitch, and we are also live on Twitter at DK Live, which is DK Nation. For Jeff Ulrich, Brendan Glasheen, thanks to Eamon and Matt behind the scenes.